You are never alone with a newborn. Not once, not for a single hour. The infant in your arms has been held continuously for 6 days. It has never touched the ground. It has never been placed in a separate room. It has never cried alone in the dark. Because in the world you come from, a crying infant in the dark is a dead infant by morning. This is not a modern parenting philosophy. This is not attachment theory repackaged. This is the baseline reality of human child rearing for roughly 300,000 years. And your body still expects it. What did it actually look like to raise a child when there were no hospitals, no formula, no strollers, no school systems, no nuclear families sealed off behind locked doors? The answer is stranger, warmer, and more demanding than anything you have been told. Start with the most basic fact. In hunter-gatherer societies studied across the 20th century, infants were held or carried in physical contact with another person for roughly 80 to 90% of daylight hours and kept within arm's reach through the night. Anthropologist James McKenna at the University of Notre Dame spent decades studying mother-infant co-sleeping and found that the practice is not a deviation from normal human development. It is the norm. Solitary infants sleep a crib in a separate room is the recent experiment, not the other way around. Your ancestors did not put babies down, not because they lacked cots or bassinets, because they understood at a visceral level that a motionless, silent infant alone on the ground was prey. Now extend that picture outward, in a band of 30 to 50 people moving across a landscape. The mother of a newborn is not the only one holding that child. She cannot be. Foraging takes hours. Fire needs tending. Water must be carried. The child moves through hands. An older sister, a grandmother, a close friend, a cousin. Anthropologist Sarah Blaver Hrdy, in her landmark work on cooperative breeding, coined the term alloparents to describe exactly this: non-biological caretakers who invest real time, attention, and physical care in a child who is not genetically theirs. In her analysis of societies ranging from the Ife of the Democratic Republic of Congo to the AKA of Central Africa, Hrdy found that infants in forager groups are regularly held, nursed, comforted, and played with by multiple adults and older children throughout the day. The nuclear family unit, 2 parents, sealed off. Doing everything alone is an anomaly in evolutionary time. The village that raised the child was not a metaphor. It was the only functional operating system your species had. Think about what that meant for the child. From the first days of life, that infant learned the faces, the smells, the voices of 8 or 10 people, not one primary attachment figure with a backup. A whole social web, woven tight. Developmental psychologists who study secure attachment today think of the strange situation experiments built on John Bowlby's foundational research. Describe the most resilient children as those who form multiple secure attachments, not a single exclusive bond. The ancient model was not primitive, it was precisely calibrated. So let's reconstruct a day in that world. The sun is up. You are somewhere on the African savannah, roughly 50,000 years ago. The band camped last night in a clearing near a seasonal river. There are 31 people. 11 of them are children under 12. If a woman named something you have no word for is nursing a 3-month-old while using one hand to crack open a seed pod, her 5-year-old is 3 meters away, in the dirt, running a stick through a line of ants with 2 other children his age. No adult is supervising that play closely. No adult needs to. The group is the safety net. An older girl, maybe 11, carries the nursing woman's other infant on her hip. This is not servitude. This is how 11-year-olds learned to parent before they had to parent. Through years of graduated, real practice with real infants, cushioned by the presence of experienced adults nearby. The men who left at dawn return in the early afternoon. One of them scoops up the 3-month-old without being asked and walks with it pressed against his chest while he talks to another man about what they saw. In the AK people of the Central African Republic, studied extensively by Barry Hewlett at Washington State University, fathers hold their infants for nearly 22% of the day. The highest recorded rate of paternal-infant contact of any human population ever documented. Aka fathers don't merely babysit. They are primary caregivers in the deepest sense. The evening is when education happens. Not formal education, not instruction. Something older and more effective. After the meal, the fire is the center. Children sit in the outer ring. Listening, the stories told around that fire are not entertainment. Polly Wiesner, an anthropologist who spent decades with the Juhwanzi of the Kalahari, analyzed hundreds of hours of campfire conversation and found a striking pattern. Nighttime conversations around the fire were dominated by stories, personal, mythological, and moral. Daytime talk was mostly practical. Nighttime talk was about people, relationships, the unseen world, the rules of being human. Children absorbed this nightly. They were not sent to bed before the adults talked. They were present. They were learning the social operating system of their world through total immersion, night after night, for their entire childhood. Discipline in this world looked nothing like what you grew up with. Physical punishment was rare in the forager societies that have been closely observed, not because ancient humans were gentle by nature, but because coercive discipline requires an authority structure. A parent who can enforce rules unilaterally in a band where a child has 10 invested adults watching over them, and where those adults have daily social accountability to each other. The approach is different. Misbehavior is corrected through redirection, through humor, through the mild social shame of being gently teased in front of the group. Children are rarely told no. They are moved, distracted, included differently. Here is the counterintuitive part. The system which looks to modernize like indulgence, constant holding, co-sleeping, multiple caretakers, no formal instruction, free-range play, no strict discipline, produced adults who were, by most measurable outcomes, extraordinarily competent. Hunter-gatherer children learned to track animals, identify hundreds of plant species, read weather, navigate vast landscapes, resolve social conflict, and maintain complex kinship systems, all before adolescence. Not because they were taught in classrooms, because their entire childhood was a continuous apprenticeship inside a functioning adult world. The separation of children from adult activity, the school, the playroom, the daycare, is a recent and somewhat radical experiment. Your ancestors' children were not shielded from real life. They were woven into it from the first breath. Now here is the mirror. When your infant wakes at 2 a.m. and you feel in your chest that it is wrong to let them cry, that is not weakness. That is 300,000 years of evolutionary calibration telling you the truth. When you feel exhausted and isolated doing this alone, that is also the truth. You were not designed to do this alone. The system that built you assumed a village. It assumed 10 sets of hands. It assumed an 11-year-old on your hip and a grandmother at your shoulder and a fire at the center of everything. The most radical thing you can do for a child today might be the oldest thing humans ever did. Put them inside a web of people who are genuinely present. You are never alone with a newborn. That was the designs. That was always the design. The question is whether you still have enough people around the fire